Hello and welcome to the Dank Christian Memes podcast. My name is Broclen. I am a moderator and your host for this podcast today. How are you doing today, Non-Tribe?
There we go. I'm doing great. It's a beautiful sunny day here in the Mountain Time Zone. So yeah, it's doing good today.
Good. So you know me a little bit by now. You know how I usually have like things like sort of organized, somewhat planned out, maybe a particular guest in line. You know that?
You're right.
Well, I did something different this time. There was a moderator summit yesterday, which is like a remote get together for Reddit moderators. So I asked a bunch of people if they would come and, share a little bit about themselves as moderators and answer some questions. And, I don't know if you know this much. Are you familiar with the sort of stereotypes about moderators on Reddit?
I don't know all of them, but I think it's worth, if we're going to have this discussion, we probably want to make sure folks are all on the same page. So give us a couple of those.
Well, I mean, overall, I feel like they're not very good. Moderators get a bad reputation. I've been called some things in my time, but Dank Christian Memes is a unique thing to moderate. So maybe that's just unique to us. But yeah, there's I'm not going to go into specifics because I don't want to insult anyone by proxy. But I'm going to say it's generally negative stuff. I've been called a janitor of the internet, and I actually think I kind of like that title, right? Because someone's got to clean this up. So somewhere between janitor and angry mom, maybe.
So we've got about our society's thoughts on janitors. The pejorative, making janitor a bad pejorative is not a good thing on us.
I don't want to live in a world without janitors, man. That's right. I don't think I can live in the world. I think we tried that before. We got bubonic plague. Exactly. Anywho, well, so let's we'll see what folks share with us. We'll try to keep it, I don't want to say PG. Yeah, we try to keep it generally PG around here. Edo Quinn, are you a moderator yourself, or are you on the other side of the fence?
I am Quinn Q, so I hope that answers your question. But yes, I am a moderator.
So what do you moderate for? Do you have one sub in particular? Are you a quote unquote power mod who has I guess controls the world from their subreddits somehow? What's your mod style? What's your mod life like?
I am more freelance and definitely not a power mod. I'd like to make relationships with power mods. It's kind of why I sort of raised my hand to join up with you guys and talk today. I mod like smaller communities. I got started with stuff like need a mod and just like going in out of different places to help where I could. The biggest, I mod like a TV sub. I told you some of the the stuff already via private, but yeah, I mod different places, but I also just kind of freelance, and I'm an overly online individual, but I also tend to be on my phone versus desktop. So like, as we all know, you can't mod from mobile. So when I'm actually being serious, I have to like bust out the laptop and really sit down and, sort of knuckle in, which I don't always like to do, but when you got to do it, you got to do it.
Yeah, I find the Reddit is Fun app is actually better for moderating than the Reddit mobile app for the most part.
No, you can't mod from mobile. Reddit. I've never tried Reddit. It's fun, but yeah, you cannot mod from the mobile. The regular official Reddit mobile app is just impossible. You have to go to the desktop, or I guess use some kind of mobile tool.
Definitely not designed with moderation in mind. So, have you caught any of this sort of negative flack that moderators get, or are you sitting pretty?
I know the vibes. And to be honest, if I may say. And I say this advisedly and with love, and please don't hate me. I know it's going to be a kind of a weird thing to say on this stage. A lot of it's true. A lot of it's kind of true.
Oh no!
Yeah, there's definitely some bad examples out there. I'm not going to mention any names, but when a sub gets too popular too quick, when a moderator flies too close to the sun, which you could argue this little podcast is me doing, bad things can happen to who you thought were good people, maybe.
I can certainly understand that. Go ahead, Broclen.
Well, I want to make sure we give everyone an opportunity to sort of introduce themselves. I spoke to a lot of people. A lot of people said they're come, but not everyone does come when they say they will. So we'll see who shows up. But I want to try to give everyone a chance to sort of tell us where you're from in the Reddit verse, and then maybe we can shift towards questions other than my off the cuff questions here. So how about Queen Anne? You want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so I'm Queen Anne Boleyn Tudor. I mod probably about 40 different subreddits. They range from default subreddits to very niche subreddits, but they're all subreddits that I personally have an interest in. So for example, if somebody said, we need a moderator for NBA, could not care less about basketball, would never be interested in anything like that. I think the most interesting subreddit that I moderate by far, and we were talking about this yesterday, has a lot of crossover, is Fundy Snark Uncensored. And that subreddit...
That's such a title. It's a powerful title.
It's a powerful group. We dedicate, to snarking and calling out the hypocrisy of fundamentalist Christians. I think the most famous example being the Duggar family, but there's quite a few fundamentalists that come across our radar. I will say that moderating from mobile has become better, but the bar is so low.
I was just going to say that.
Yeah, the better mark. The bar's in hell. Thank God for things like Toolbox and RES. Those are truly a lifesaver. One of the other subreddits that I mod that I love so much is Cats Are A-Holes.
There's a lot of evidence for that. Yeah. I'm a cat person. Can attest.
I have 3 of them. I have 3 cats, and every single day I'm just like, you're such an ass. But they are.
All right. So I have a question for you, because it sounds like you're modding 40 subs. They're subs you care about, but they're pretty sizable. Yes, some of them.
Some of them are. Not the Onion or Make Me Smile, for example, are both, I think, default subs. So
I sort of agree with you. I don't think I could really. I have to care about a sub on some level to be able to moderate for it. I don't think I could just come in cold. But how do you respond to the criticism that a small number of moderators control a large number of particularly? How do you respond to the calls that there's a Reddit cabal of people just sort of control a bunch of subs? Do you admit it? Do you deny it? Do you plead the fifth? What's your position?
Yes and no. I can understand why they would have that perception when you see the same group. But the idea that we are shaping the narrative to our specific worldview is just patently false. I'd like to clear that up here and now.
That's a lot of work. I don't have time for that. I have a real job.
We approve things that we personally disagree with all the time. But, we don't moderate subs where it's just like what Queen Anne Boleyn Tudor likes. The subreddit is politics, not my politics. And I would say you have a group of people that are skilled and dedicated to this one particular skill, whatever you're doing, whether it's modding Reddit, fixing cars, making cookies. If you have a group of people that are really, really good at it, you're going to say, hey, I've actually got this cookie baking competition over here. Can you help me out there? But nobody's accusing Mrs. Fields of having a cookie cabal.
This is making me hungry, and I recently ate. I'm not saying it's a good analogy, but it's a distracting one.
But
I can take that a little bit.
You have a whole bunch of people that are really, really good at handling these massive queues. and approving things or removing things without getting their bias involved. And that's what you ultimately want in a moderator. So
Yeah, that's like the definition of the word.
Hey, come on over here and help me.
Yeah, that's like the definition of the word. Do we have other moderators up here in the listening that we can get a quick introduction from?
We do.
If I may,
Miara, you're up next.
Yeah. If I may, before I can introduce myself first, but I would like to say about that cabal, what Anne said is completely correct. But in addition to that, about 6 or 7 years ago, you see, the thing is, the cabal, it started as a joke. We were a group of people, we were friends, and we were moderating some large subreddits like Today I Fucked Up and Life Pro Tips, and we hung out together. We had a Slack, and we just kind of joked around and memed around, and we kind of spread on Reddit this rumor, and we did that deliberately. We were probably very naive about that. Oh yeah, that's because we're the cabal, and we're not going to let you do that.
No.
And yeah, and in hindsight,
so you may have fanned the flames early on.
Yes, we caused it, and in hindsight, that wasn't a smart thing to do. Most of the moderators who were in that original cabal have moved on. They're no longer on Reddit. Some have passed away. Some have faded away. Some are suspended. So
Gotcha.
it really.
Before we go down that line a little bit, can we get an introduction from you so we can know who we're talking to?
Yeah, I'm Marari. I've been moderating on Reddit for about 6-7 years. I moderate a few large subreddits, a few smaller subreddits. It's something I enjoy doing. I kind of tend to spend my time where I am needed the most, which currently would be probably our entertainment is where I'm spending a lot of time, because now that there is this whole Little Mermaid and the Rings of Power thing, all the racists have come out to play. So there is a lot of moderation needed there. So
did they ever really go away from play? They're just playing extra. Let's not pretend like they go home at the end of the day.
Yeah. No, but they're really very, very excited to say I'm not racist, but and of course nobody's fooled by that. Yeah, that's lovely. You get things like, I'm not racist, but I think mermaids can be black, but Ariel, she can't be black. So yeah, of course, banned. And then they send a mod mail, and mod mail is just the N-word, So and you said you weren't racist? Okay,
yeah, they sort of hunt themselves, the haters, don't they?
Yeah, that's the thing about racists. They tend to be not the smartest people. So they go mask off really quickly, and it's all the same tropes that they get from their social media and
yeah. So let's come back to I'm sure we'll have cause to come back to the Reddit haters, but I need to make sure I am not considered a hater to the people in comments. So give me if I don't check out the comments and respond there. So someone asked me, why as a Christian are you a Reddit mod? I'm going to assume that one's for me. I'm a Reddit mod as a Christian because I believe in ecumenical dialogue between different kinds of Christians, and interfaith dialogue. And I think that that's a great thing. And I think that Dank Christian Memes typifies that. So I was really glad when I was invited to work on this sort of interfaith ecumenical dialogue space like Dank Christian Memes. And apparently I like doing podcasts because I'm doing that now too. This is a question for everyone. I'll answer it briefly first, though. Can you unban people for fun? Yes, you can, and I have. During Lent, we celebrated our 7-year anniversary of Dank Christian Memes existing. And in parts of the Old Testament, every 7 years is supposed to be a jubilee where debts are forgiven, slaves are freed, and it's just generally a good time. So we did. We cleared out the entire ban list and emptied it and declared a jubilee. We even freed the bots. We even freed the bots.
That's beautiful.
But as I said before, you don't have to hunt the haters; they hate themselves. So some of them came right on back to the ban list after not too long, and that's not particularly surprising. So
I've unbanned people because they make me laugh.
S2 Keep Up, do you want to introduce yourself and weigh in on the question of unbanning people for fun? Am I a crazy person? You can say that. That's fine.
I mean, you might be crazy, but not for that. I am
also
S2
true.
Keep Up. I used to actually moderate quite a few larger subs and recently have kind of whittled it down because I also agree with Queen Anne Boleyn that you really do need to have a personal interest to really effectively moderate the subs, I feel. So currently, I actually moderate now for a few sports-related subreddits, and we may not necessarily get problems with racists so much as fans from other teams who don't know their limits with their trash talking. So it's a unique situation.
Oh, interesting.
And we don't necessarily just throw people out into the fire right away. A lot of these are sports fans that are heat of the moment reactions. So we're probably a lot more forgiving on the bans. Like we actually have a tier where we'll start with like 1 day ban, 3 day ban. You really, really have to screw up to earn yourself a permanent ban.
Do people learn their lesson as they, incur these various punishments, or are people just charging right through them?
Yes and no. And, certainly to relate to your question, do we unban people for fun? I wouldn't say we necessarily unban any for fun, but we have obviously banned people. They have appealed to our better nature and said, look, I was drunk at the moment and the game was going poorly, or various reasons. I promise I won't do it again. And we certainly do try to give people the benefit of the doubt. There have also even been people who, 1 year, 2 years later will come back to us and appeal, and we're willing to give them another chance. We have extensively developed our auto mod system where we even have like timeout filters, so that any of these people who we do give another chance to, we let them know, and we'll just be transparent. Absolutely, you can come back, but just to let you know, you're going to be in a filter. So every comment, every post is going to have to require mod approval for an undisclosed period of time. And then when you're off the timeout list, then you're free to go.
I love it.
That's a nice system.
Accountability.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it does seem to work out fairly well. There's very few that really resist against that. And like you said, the haters will come out and call themselves out. And, those are usually just the loudest 1% that tend to do that. But for the most part, it's a system that works pretty well for us.
Yeah, I want to throw this out there, and feel free to disagree or whatever. I get no joy or no power trip out of banning someone, but I get great satisfaction after having a conversation with someone and lifting their ban. And it sounds like you've got something similar going on in your subs as well.
Absolutely, 100%.
That's like
agree.
redemption arc?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, exactly. Like a redemption arc. Absolutely agree. And it's usually going to end up causing more problems later on if we have to issue a permanent ban. It comes down to recognizing that we are emotional creatures, and sometimes we mess up, and we all deserve a second, third, fourth chance, even now and again. But for the most part, I don't like banning people. I really don't like to have to do that. I don't look forward to the mod mail messages that are likely going to come in. It's time consuming, never mind even the fact that you don't enjoy issuing punishment. It's time consuming to have to manage that. So, we all have lives. So in order to effectively do our job, we try to do the best that we can, and time crunch. And especially during game time where there's 8 million things that are going on at once, I really don't want to have to ban people.
A utopia is much easier to moderate.
Yeah. Yeah. So Broclen, I don't know what your next question is, but let's get what is this? Vaden Possimus? Is that how I say that?
That is would
yep,
be
and then we'll come for
Vaden
blue
Poissons.
3.
Okay.
Thank
got
you.
It. So
for
what do you got, Broclen?
Oh.
No, go ahead, Venda Possimus. That's my best guess. Sorry. I'm just saying blue 3 is on deck after that.
Okay.
Okay, well, thank you for having me on. The pronunciation would be Veden Paisumus, and it is the direct translation of the Old Testament story of the flood in Finnish. So yeah, that's about that. And I completely forgive you for pronouncing that wrong. I'm surprised you even bothered to try. But I do apologize for being the odd one out of the bunch, but I do not have a lot of recent history in moderation, not even on Reddit. But there was a time when I was on Facebook, and well, before it was the place where all the boomers remained and posted all those silly little minion memes, there was a lot of, meme culture groups, pages. And one thing that bothered me was that I didn't have the guts to just strike people away, and instead I was too kind to a burden for myself. There were people who didn't want to negotiate, who didn't want to behave. They just wanted to ridicule and be overall horrible people. But I had the, I guess, humility to just try and reason with them day after day. And, well, they never played ball, did they? And I suppose that's like, well, people fear that moderation is too strict. People are too power hungry. But when are people in power too humble, too gentle for their own good? When do you reach the other line? And by the way, another reference, sorry to keep my monologue here, Queen Anne, you mentioned about those, cringe fundamentalists. I recently dubbed this term neo-Pharisees, like the kind of person who is just pretending. I guess the MAGA Republican archetype who might know keywords such as the Second Amendment, the Constitution, 1984 by George Orwell, or the Bible, but having never read any of these things, and they're quite poorly contributing to the conversation. Christian fascists. Well, that's like plus and minus, and well, I wouldn't. Is that a Freudian slip implying that they, at least these days, pull each other together or something like that? But yeah,
we could have our whole episode on Christo-fascism, and this is the Christian meme, so we could have a ball of it. But let's give Blue 3 an opportunity to introduce themselves, where they're coming from.
Wonderful. Thank you for having me.
Thanks very much.
Oh, hey, hello. I'm Blue 3. I'm moderating Ardoon for the science fiction franchise. Mostly just that I've had a few smaller subs. Some of them I've reduced. Dune is pretty much the only one. Me and my team, we tend to be pretty hands-on with our community, so I feel I wouldn't be able to focus on any kind of consistent moderation if I had dozens or hundreds of subs to take care of actively. And I have this thing where I like to reduce, streamline, simplify everything whenever possible. So whenever I got, that extends to pretty much everything. Whenever I got too many things in auto mod, I look at, okay, how many lines can I reduce? When I got too many subs that I follow, I look, how much can I reduce? When I got 5 tabs open, I'm like, okay, which one am I not using? It's that kind of reason. So I probably couldn't focus on any kind of consistent moderation. But I do a few projects in the background, like helping other communities or helping other mods with their applications or just education kind of stuff.
Very cool. Hey, I just want to add a quick note too for the mods here, especially those favorite kind of subs that you mod, drop some of those in the comments. I'd like to visit some of these, and there's no way I'm going to remember all of them. So please drop some of those in the comments so the listeners and myself can peruse by your communities.
Can I also slam down a rude interruption for Blue 3? huge respect for doing stuff with Dune. I recently got into the book franchise, and this isn't the first one as an audiobook, just before the first movie came out, and I'm currently in God Emperor, so wonderful to see fellow fans.
Right, yeah. Also, just wanted to say about banning, we're that's probably also due to me, but I'm not like S2 Keep Up, I believe. I'm on Firefox. Like it doesn't always show very well who's talking. Like I too am not too big of a fan of like being reactive and just banning. Like we talk to a lot of people. I got this thing where I'm likely to be especially nice to somebody who's being a dick. You know, like if somebody obviously if somebody's just a troll, we'll ban him. But usually if somebody's just being real bad, then, I'm going to be like, spend my time on them and just respond to them completely, non-phased. And, sometimes it just, I don't know, it takes them off guard and they're like, I didn't
it's very
expect
parental of you.
Yeah.
Like, are you having a bad day?
Not like that. Not even like, just, explaining things. That doesn't fly here. You can't do that here, but we appreciate blah, blah, blah. And, sometimes, we get, well, I didn't expect that. Well, I'll try to be better. That actually makes sense, something like that. And so, that makes us happy when there's a little bit of learning experience.
I think there's a lot of folks out there that underestimate the value of an apology in their ban appeal. But I've also experienced that there's a lot of people who think that their ban appeal is for me to explain in greatest detail why they were banned and why their ban is the way it is and so on and so forth. So I don't really do courtroom scenes, that sort of thing. Let's see. I'm trying to go in order, but on my screen, you guys are mixing around. Sure. Mary, go real quick, and then I want to get the Nemo song. We got a lot of people on stage here.
From a subreddit. If you're ever banned from a subreddit and you want to get unbanned, then perhaps your ban is unfair. This happens. But it is important to remember there is a power disparity. You have these moderators and it is their subreddit. So when I get banned from a subreddit and it is an unfair ban and it has happened, what I then do is I try to see things from the perspective of the moderator, and I say, hey, I'm really sorry about this, and then I identify what I think the issue is, and I say I won't do it again, and I ask, can you please reduce my ban from permanent to temporary? And in my experience, this has a much higher success rate than saying, oh, I didn't do anything wrong, or saying, hey, you're going to need to explain why I have been banned. Just, it may not
At
always
Dank Christian Memes, we get a lot of people who want to tell us, well, you're not the right kind of Christian, therefore you're running the sub wrong. So they don't have to follow the rules because they know best because of their own biblical studies, which is, it's fun. It's a real special place to be. Nemo Sum, do you want to speak up, and then I'll come to you, Coca-Cola?
Sure. Sorry if there's a little background noise. I'm outside sitting in a hammock enjoying the weather with my little 4-year-old guy here. So greetings to all fellow children of God here. My name is Nemo. I moderate a few subs. One that is private and ask.
You cut out, man.
Oh man, we cut out as soon as you were saying the ones.
Yeah, you're roboty. Maybe it's because you're moving around. If you can get to like a more stable connection and just sort of sit in one place.
We'll come back to you, Nemo. Take some time to check your connection there. Coca-Cola, I've been wanting to ask you, are you working for the Coca-Cola company? Or are you just a real big Coke enthusiast?
I need some Coca-Cola now.
I'm just
Say again?
What?
I love to drink.
All right.
That's fair. Are you a moderator as well?
Yes, I do moderate some subs. Mainly r slash like us and r slash graffiti and r slash outfits. Those are just the main ones, I guess.
So are you getting the same kind of, sort of contentious ban appeal situation, or are you experiencing a particular piece, or do you have your own kind of chaos you deal with those subs?
Mainly on r slash outfits. We get a lot of so people post their outfits, right? And then we get like those people, there are a lot of like creepy comments, like weird comments like this isn't an NSFW sub, so all the comments should be safe for work, right? But we get a lot of creeps, and we kind of have to ban like most of them because we don't want those people here, right? So that's kind of the stuff we have to deal with in mod mail. People like complaining about how what they said wasn't creepy, even though it is.
Oh, that sounds super yucky.
Yeah.
Yeah. As soon as you began to say that, I was just like, oh dear Lord. I could only imagine.
I gotta ask and wonder, like, this is a sheer philosophical question, but what do those people think they gain from those comments? Like, does it produce anything? Does it give you new opportunities in relationships in life? What is the reason for those comments?
I don't know that I want to know.
You're trying to rationalize the irrational, Vaden. It's very simple. I have a mantra for this. People are weird, and if you want to be really blunt about it, not everybody on the internet is healthy. Just a fact.
Well, that's a good point. Blue 3, please do say whatever you're saying. I still have one more bit that I would like to say, but please do say.
No big reason. Just people just want to be heard. I mean, I could say upvotes are karma, but I think a lot of people just really want to say what they think and they want to be heard.
Not all of the internal thoughts of every person are beautiful. And that's something we have to accept.
No, they're not. No, they're not. But they want to get it out there. They don't know.
I want to let Serious Ad have an opportunity. Serious Ad, do you want to introduce yourself briefly? All right, we will come back to you. Sorry, I just wanted to make sure everyone got a chance to introduce themselves, which I think they did, with the exception of Sentient Gorilla. Are you you want to say hi, Sentient Gorilla? I didn't think you were a Reddit mod, but I know you've done some community management on Knights of the Old Republic, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, on Discord, I've done some. I've done some community management for a game guild on Discord, and that's me. I've never been a Reddit mod. I also want to apologize for the background noise. I'm actually heading home. I'm 1 block away from my house, and as soon as I get home, you guys won't hear any background noise, but not there yet. So I do apologize. I live in New York City. So
it's all good. We'll check in with you when you get there. Just keep listening in.
Yeah, no worries.
It is very subtle, by the way. It is not loud. So you're allowed to talk right now, by the way.
Excuse me, guys. Are there... Oh dear, I keep interrupting people.
Go ahead. I'm just going to call you Vend.
Wait, who? Me?
Yeah, go ahead. Say what you're going to say, and then we'll try to move it around.
Yeah. There was somebody with a beautiful voice, many of you, in fact, who was talking about being a fan of making podcasts. I'm currently waiting for my HyperX Quadcast S to arrive, and I am a fan of deep discussions with whoever. Can I do some podcast with somebody? I actually want to get started with that at some point. Yeah.
Do you have permission to use Reddit talks like we are right now, or you want to do something?
I did get that permission some months ago, actually. Yeah.
I mean, if you're not intimidated by a live format, then I would say that's probably your easiest in. And there's a Discord for that I can try to hook you up with too.
Well, live format doesn't really intimidate me. What does intimidate me is the risk of stepping on somebody's toes as a visitor on this little meet here, I guess. But, when I get started, I do enjoy just talking about pretty much anything. But yeah, let's go.
Don't worry, I have a mute button. I can I can give you a rest if I need to.
Well, I think Nemo is back, but first, Vaden, I think what Broclen's point is that if you can make your own talks, you can make your own talks. You don't have to just come to someone else's talk. You can make your own from your own profile, your own sub, and do it that way.
Yeah, I do agree, but it's one thing to just get a good start with interesting topics and interesting people. I'm a member of Dan Christian Memes as well, and overall, the topics of faith today, the differences and its applications in modern day life, is something that I'm always down to talk about. Getting started with I don't know, just overall memes might be cool, but I suppose this does hold more value to me.
Well, sure. I mean, it sounds like you guys can have an offline powwow, and maybe there's something to it. What else you got, Broclen?
I got some questions and comments, and I'm trying to be dutiful to the comment people. I told them I would. So let me have a look here. Someone asked, are reformed memes allowed in this sub? As long as they're respectful and on topic, sure. But here's the real meaty question. How do y'all respond to accusations of, quote, "but my free speech!" exclamation point, type of comments and complaints? So how do we reconcile free speech? I'll say when I'm done, but who wants to pop in first here?
If I may.
Yeah. Go
One
ahead.
thing that I have told people, I've been on the internet since AOL was sending out free CDs.
Oh, yes.
Yeah. And what I tend to do is just say you've never, ever, ever had free speech on the internet. That is an misunderstood concept. Even when AOL was sending out free CDs and it was a free-for-all, there's still a code of conduct that you are expected to abide by. This is Reddit's sandbox. You either play by the rules or you get out. You have no expectation of free speech here or anywhere. Gab, Parler, Truth Social, Instagram, Twitter. I mean, literally every single platform has a code of conduct that you're expected to abide by. If you find this one so bad, you're welcome to start your own platform.
I think
Just
exactly that.
Really quick, we have a saying that we say to people: freedom of speech does not mean freedom from its consequences.
Yeah,
we run into this on Dank Christian Memes. Like, we've been for 7 years like a place that does not tolerate hate or homophobia or transphobia or racism, and it's all very clear. But we have folks that actively want to come and preach these things. And I try to make the comparison of if there was a church that was, pro LGBTQ people, I'm not going to walk in on their Sunday morning and start counter preaching. And that's the same thing. Like, there's a place for everything. There are many subs that agree with that position. Those are the ones for you. And if you don't agree with this position and you can't abide by these rules, that's fine. But, this probably isn't the place for you. And I think Reddit is a great answer for that, because there probably is a place. And we know whether, I agree with or find a position to be good or bad. There's all sorts of interesting places and corners on the internet. So it's not like you can't say it. It's more likely that you need to say it in the right place, in the right company, possibly on a privated sub or something like that.
And Reddit does have a content policy, but in principle, freedom of speech means that the government cannot interfere with your right to say what you want. If you have a violation of freedom of speech, that means that the government is taking action to prevent you from speaking. It doesn't mean that a privately owned platform must allow you to say everything what you want, and especially not sub-forums on that platform. What is more important than freedom of speech here is freedom of association. We have a little club, like a subreddit about puppies in hats, and in that little club we expect people to behave in a certain way, and that's just not the place to go and deny the Holocaust in. And at that point, the people who run the little club will say, you're not welcome here anymore. And that's not a violation of your freedom of speech. It's more that we exercise our right of freedom of association and say, we don't want you in here.
I have got to say this again. I just went and checked the comments. It looks like our women, I'm going to assume women, just based on the Abbeys that I see, they put their subreddits in there. You have to put that one in the comments. I need to know what the Puppies and Hats sub is. So go put your subs in there, moderators. Go ahead, Broclen.
Thank you. Yeah, absolutely. I want to give, so the question on the table is how we square moderation with free speech. And I think one of the biggest points is that free speech and that amendment, especially if you're an American, talks about what the government can and can't do. That every community, whether it's a sub or a public library, has its rules. And if you break those rules, you can and will be removed or ejected in whatever way that happens.
But that's literally 1984. Literally 1984.
No, because in 1984, didn't the government do it?
Yeah,
like we are all individuals making our choices. So I feel like the bigger question is, well, is there the Reddit cabal? Is Reddit too much controlled by moderators, but making a comparison to an oppressive government when it's just a bunch of volunteers?
Yeah,
I don't think that's an accurate comparison.
I think he was joking. Yeah, I think he was joking.
Yeah, that's the whole
then
joke.
I respond to those who would not be joking, because obviously I've had this conversation before, and I'm sure.
Yeah.
Now remember, Mary before said that he and his folks came up with a Reddit cabal and they were joking. So it's apropos that even when you just made that joke, that sometimes it can create things. So that's just kind of funny. A funny callback to that.
That's rare.
On the note
of Poe's law, you can't tell if somebody's sincere or fanatically devoted to what they're saying.
On the note of free speech and governments, I think actually, yesterday in the I don't want to talk too much about it, but Spaz, the CEO of Reddit, basically, I think he touched on that yesterday in a little AMA that he gave. Reddit is not a country, so
I said a lot of interesting things yesterday, among which he said that Redditors need to get more comfortable with capitalism. Essentially, really interesting takes from Spez yesterday.
He also low-key said that they're going to remove the upvote by saying, hey, we're going to simplify things. And that's going to take away some key features, but not the downvote, because that's critical to Reddit. And then it leaves you to wonder what critical features would he nebulously say would be taken away that are not the downvote and Reddit specific. And that's the upvote.
So here's a question I want to pose out there, and kind of trying to stick with this question of freedom of speech. I'd like to offer a counter narrative, and you guys let me know if it seems accurate or not. That we have regular users, and we have the people who actually are paid to run Reddit, and then there are moderators who are, until something changes, all volunteers. And it seems to me that moderators have an opportunity to sort of act as an intermediary, especially through events like we had yesterday with the Mod Summit, and try to, if not influence the people who are actually in charge of Reddit, at least get some answers from them as to, hey, what the hell are you guys doing?
Hey, DieYouFool3, we just added you as a speaker. If you could introduce yourself and hopefully answer that question.
Yeah, so my name's Alex, don't worry. I say it on the Reddit Talks for Our World News. I moderate, besides Our World News, Our News, and Our Politics, and Our Geopolitics. So you get a flavor of what my cup of tea is. And can you repeat the question, please?
Yeah, I think you got cut off there, Broclen. No offense to you, non-tribe. Broclen.
The question is, are moderators a threat to free speech, or do we offer another conduit of communication with the greater apparatus that is Reddit? Can or do moderators, help bring the positions of the members of the users of Reddit to the people who are actually paid to be in charge and run Reddit? Is that clear, or am I just going? circles now.
Yeah, there's really like two questions that I'm getting at. And the first one is the moderator's role of fostering community. Now, whether that community is around quality or around identity or around, just location, at the end of the day, I would ask and take a step back and say, what is the purpose of free speech? Why, especially in America, and Reddit is an American country, do we value free speech so much? And there's the implicit assumption of, with freedom of opinion and diversity of thought, though there will be conflict because different people will have different viewpoints, ultimately a stronger, healthier conversation that is richer in perspective and better in outcome will occur. If that is an uncontentious point that you agree with, then the thought with that assumption is, free speech in our communities will lead to those same conclusions. But as we've all seen firsthand, regardless of what our community is, that is not always the case. So if your goal of your community is simply to best represent the people in your city or your country, then maybe free speech is needed, much like you would want in your actual country for your citizens. But if your community is, as was mentioned, puppies with hats, you have a very narrow interest that somebody might like puppies with hats, but bringing up who they want to vote for so that, hats can be made cheaper or of better quality in certain countries versus another might not be appropriate. So that's where moderators must play the role of digital janitors, curators, call them what you want. Because otherwise, the problem of the endless September occurs, which is, for those who are familiar with it, I won't repeat it. For those who are not, there's a nice little wiki that you can use. And it talks about how with new users who are not aware or privy to your rules, your norms, your culture, they will bring their own. And it is up to you and existing members to effectively train them, teach them, use the words that you want.
It's also called the all effect, that if you have a post that does well, it's going to draw from outside of your community. And like you were saying, you're going to have an opportunity to either onboard those people into your community or not.
Exactly. And it's Sisyphean in the sense that if it is a constant struggle to bring in new people and effectively bring them up to date with what is okay, what is not okay in your small corner of the internet discourse wise. But if you ever say, I won't swear, but you throw your hands in the air and say, enough is enough. I've done it for so long. I'm just going to take a break. At any moment, you can have your community and, its months, years, decades of culture subsumed and wiped out by a wave of new people. So that's why it's Sisyphean of it's a task that just never ends, but should be enjoyed in of itself.
Now, I want to ask, I know we have one, maybe two moderators that are come from sports subs, and some sort of sports game is about to start. So I want to make sure I give you a moment to speak before you tap out the door, unless those people have already left. Who was someone here from our NFL?
Yeah, so our game is actually starting at 4, but we're good. We've got even our backups in, so we're okay for now, but I can stick around for at least a little while. But our game starts right at 4. Go 49ers. Hopefully we win.
All right, nice. So we're talking a little bit more now about, I guess the question is maybe more of relevance for a lot of subs. Like at Dank Christian Memes, I feel like we can talk about a lot of stuff because, the Bible contains a lot of wacky stories on a lot of subjects. But, I feel like I think the example was puppies and hats, that some subs are just very, very narrow. So is that something that's, hard for you guys a hard line for you guys to walk into? What is a relevant comment versus what is completely off topic, regardless of personal decision? Who hasn't had a chance to speak? I want to be fair to everyone here.
Yeah, I think Nemo is back and he's been waiting. So go ahead, Nemo.
Actually, not so much of narrow scope because most of my subs are very wide in scope, but rather talking about free speech. And I mod two very pro-government, to put it lightly, subs, Ask Conservatives and Ask an American, which, you know, have a lot of people who really, really love the Constitution. And so when we do ban people, both people who are, you know, very pro-Constitution and people who are maybe a little more interested in restructuring society, American society, we get a lot of complaints about free speech. And the refrain is always, you have to understand, we are not the government. Like, we are not oppressing you. You have other platforms where you can speak. It's just, you're not going to say that here. You're not going to use our space where we come to talk about culture and ethics and, you know, who our favorite NFL team is, to push this agenda. And it's not a line that you can draw in the sand and say like, oh, we're going to respect free speech here, and we're not going to respect free speech. Not going to respect free speech in this case. It is, you know, we want people to be able to say what they want to say, but they also have to not be complete dicks when they're doing it. And, you know, a lot of people don't think of themselves as complete dicks, even if they are. Apologies if the language is a little too foul for dank Christian memes. I'm sorry.
No, we're PG. That's fine. I've never had a rule against swearing and never had an interest in enforcing such a rule. So you're good. Just don't go off the rails.
Fair enough. In terms of narrow focus, one of the problems we have always had on Ask an American is, you know, people want to treat it like a smaller, friendlier Ask Reddit, and they'll put questions that just didn't get traction on Ask Reddit on our sub. And I try to catch those before they blow up and remove them and be like, not just a smaller, friendlier Ask Reddit. This is a sub for asking questions about America, about Americans, getting an American perspective, not just, you know, there's this problem where people tend to assume you're on Reddit, you are American. And I've seen even like two Europeans arguing with each other and both assumed the other one was American and hurled American-based insults at each other. And it's kind of ridiculous. I mean, you know, we're all moderators. We have to have thick skins when it comes to insults. I personally don't care what people call me, as long as they don't call me late to supper, as the man said. But yeah, but I don't tolerate insults based at the regular users, or, you know, with the other mods. It's in the middle. If someone wants to call out a mod for something personal, I'll probably nip that in the bud. But if, you know, the mods can speak up for themselves as regular users. A minute ago, you were saying something about mods being intermediates, which has not been my experience. Mostly we're regular users that have the power to pick up litter. I have not had good interactions with the admins when I try to communicate with them about things that I need, or when they're trying to communicate things to me, to us, about the way they want Reddit to run, about the expectations they're putting on moderators, in terms of enforcing Reddit rules and where the lines of free speech ends. I can talk more about that, but I don't want to go on a long monologue if someone else has something to say.
Yeah, maybe we can shift it to admins, and then we can all dump on the admins at the end and really pass the buck. I want to give Eternal Apostle an opportunity to introduce themselves. Are you a mod, Eternal Apostle? He is eternally silent. All right, sorry, who was I interrupting?
I have some experience with mods communicating with admins. I've been a moderator for, well, I think quite a long time, at least in internet time. It used to be that Reddit didn't have much of a hateful content policy. There used to be literal white supremacist subreddits on Reddit, and it was allowed according to the content policy. They were called Stormfront, and all that sort of subreddits. And there used to be kind of like a group of white hat moderators that would take care to keep an eye on those subreddits, because the people that run those types of subreddits, they tend to have a problem with following any kind of rules, and even the most basic rules on Reddit that existed at the time, like not harassing people and not content manipulating, they weren't able to follow. So after time, they'd get suspended. And then the subreddit would be unmoderated. And then people like me and Awkward the Turtle and Gooey Poodle, we would sweep in, we would Reddit request these subreddits, and we would turn them into good subreddits. So if you go to our Stormfront right now, that's a subreddit about weather. There is a subreddit about the F slur that used to be a homophobic subreddit. We made it into a subreddit about the British meatball dish. And that is how we used to handle hateful content on Reddit for years and years. Then we kept pressuring the admins and we kept saying, look, you guys, this isn't okay. You can't keep doing this. And after time, and I believe this is one of the major successes of the interaction between moderators and admins, we now have this new content policy where rule 1 is remember the human. And a subreddit like...
Now, how new is that? Because I feel like that,
it's
from,
a few
from my
years old.
perspective, that goes back pretty far.
It's a few years old. It is, I want to say 3 years. I'm not exactly sure. But yeah, 3 years is a long time in internet time, of course.
Excuse me, I have a question. How do you associate British meatballs with the F word? How does that happen?
Because British food sucks.
I think you're thinking of the wrong F word.
Do I have to ask?
Far from Flugen.
There is one thing that I would like to drop here. I might get off real soon. It is like the question of freedom of speech, not only in America. It would be a bit too easy if it was only local, would it? There have also been recent discussions regarding closed-off internet areas in places like China and Russia. The questions of, is the West at warfare with these people? And if we are, is there also a trend of hybrid warfare and these nations using our communications platforms to breed discourse among our people, such as, if we're talking about
Can you give us a Reddit example? I feel like
Like,
do you mind
yes,
if I use from Reddit here?
Yes, I actually would like to give an example, and I would also like Dayuful to participate. But like the idea of leftist subreddits, right-wing subreddits, how many of these people are real people? How many are people who are just spamming things to cause a fight? And how do we deal with that?
I mean, from where I sit, it doesn't really matter what the intention is, right? Whether you're an angry, drunk person upset because your sports team isn't doing well, or someone who, really wants to condemn certain group using the Bible, or if you're paid by a state, it doesn't matter. It all looks the same to me. And if I've set up my automod properly, I should be able to deal with it. So I mean, I think as moderators, especially if you're working with AutoMod, it isn't about motivation as much as it is, these patterns that we see. Anyone else rein in on this? I'm sorry, I took it there.
Yeah.
No, it's fine. I think it really.
One who does moderate a more right-wing subreddit, there's obviously people who come to fights. They want to fight. They want to win an argument on the internet. And I think all those of us who have been around for a while know what a silly goal it is to try to win an argument on the internet. That's not a goal that's based in reality. But
as my mother would say to that, when you're arguing with somebody on the internet, it's actually from my grandmother, never try to teach a pig to sing. It wastes your time and annoys the pig.
Yeah, I've heard that one before. So on Ask Conservatives, it's not a debate platform. It is supposed to be a bridge for understanding. But people still try to use it to come and debate. And we intentionally are very laissez-faire there. We grew out of, before my time there, it was an offshoot of the Ask a Conservative, which is, I don't know how many of you are familiar with it, but it's a cesspool. It's absolutely awful. I don't like talking bad about other subs, but this one deserves it. It was draconian in its vision for the sub and suppressed the speech of anyone who dissented both on the right and the left and in the center for so long that a new sub was formed. where people could express their opinions more freely and more civilly. And so that is the main rule that I spend my time enforcing, or the two main rules I spend my time enforcing on that sub, is to be civil. And where we draw the line is you can't insult another person. You can say whatever you like about their argument. You can talk about their beliefs, but you can't insult the person. And the exception to this is that we don't ban trolling and we don't ban bad faith. But we do also not ban people calling out trolling and calling out bad faith. And so the exception is to this rule is you can say like, you're a troll, but you're not here in good faith. And per Reddit rule 1, remember the human, you can't call someone a bot. You can question their motivation, certainly, because the motivation is not the character of the person itself. And I wish I was better at communicating this role because a lot of our newer users seem to be confused by it. But it has, for the long-term users, created a very stable form of discourse where people, any ideas is free to be critiqued within the bounds of Reddit's content policy, and also a few rules that we have. We are firmly against the alt-right and any sort of ethno-nationalism or white supremacist bullshit is going to get an immediate permaban. But within the realms, the actual modern conservative thought, it's all open. Whoa, sorry.
I want to give Eternal Apostle the opportunity to speak if you found your mic.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Loud and clear.
Okay, cool. Yeah, sorry about that. I had to allow my microphone for Reddit. No, I'm not a moderator. I don't know if I can join in on the discussion, but I just wanted to say, whenever people do moderate these subs, I think it's important to look at things objectively, and I think that unfortunately some moderators, they view things biasly, as what they like and what they don't like, as opposed to objectively through what the rules are of any particular sub.
I have something it's a move. It's called approve and downvote. It doesn't break the rules, but I don't like it. So I get to vote just like anybody else. But there is no shortage of stuff I see on my sub that I'm like, you know what? You haven't broke the rules, so I can't touch you. But I'm also not going to upvote you. So, that's how I look at it.
Isn't that also like the ideal hypothetical libertarian who allows everybody to speak their opinion and will defend their right to that tooth and nail?
Yeah, very Voltaire of them. I know Murari. I haven't said your username out loud. We've talked about this in the Saturday weekly mod guide Reddit talks, but there's a really good academic paper that was put out that looked at different types of moderators on Reddit, and they more or less, and this is why I bring it up in relation to what you just said of this libertarian moderator, they really identified 4 different types of moderators. And of course, you can put on different hats at different times, but this is more just like an initial framework to understand yourself and yourself in relation to your community. And the first one is the enforcer. They are the beat cop. They are just, hey, rule breaking comment, boom, banned, removed. They're just effectively your digital beat cop. And that, of course, is very important for every community. The second one is the community builder. They're less interested in using their position of privilege and power to enforce, and more as a leader to coalesce and, whether it is contests or weekly discussions, that is really what drives them. The other one is the ideologue. So they have a very, specific goal, and they will use their power as a moderator to, through hell or high water, enforce it on everyone else. And then the last one is this libertarian, I want this position of power to ensure that nobody has power over others. So they are just letting the community be and stay free. But, of course, as we all know, being, citizens of the web, that if you allow anyone to join because you want ultimate freedom, that allows the worst actors and the most caustic of opinions to flourish.
Was there ever an age where that worked, though?
I had a teacher in seminary that, she was talking about churches, but it's the same idea for all communities in general, that in order for it to be an actual community, much like a cell, it needs to have a membrane. It needs to have a way that separates itself, separates what is inside from what is outside. And I think our communities end up being the same sort of thing, that, letting people come in is a good thing, but as you do so, it changes the structure. Dan Christian Memes, we have 800,000 members, and every so often I'm like, ooh, it would be cool to have 1 million. But would it? I don't know, because that's a lot of people. I don't know what kind of ideas they'd be bringing in and circumstances. It could really shift the sort of culture of the sub, just like, Reddit's culture shifts as new members come in. We are close to the end of our recording time, but do you guys want to continue, or do you have things you need to get to? So if you want to carry on, give me an upvote. If you're going to need to leave soon, give me a downvote so I have an idea. Okay,
You
it seems like most folks,
come on, man.
seems like most folks are going to be hanging around, so we can keep going, but I don't want to keep anyone here against their will. Thank you, everyone who showed up and spoken so far. I don't want to take your time for granted. How you doing, Nun Tribe? You've been helping me keep this on the rails along with Edo Quinn here.
I'm good. Good discussion. Yeah, let's keep it going a little bit.
I had a new prompt. If you sorry.
I was going to say, I feel like sometimes when you're actioning content and you're actioning users, you can almost feel like a parent, because they'll say, well, what about the other guy? Okay, just because Billy kicked sand in your face doesn't mean that you get to kick sand back in his face. That's not how this works. Or they say, I'll bet you didn't do anything. I can't discuss that with you. Also, you didn't. Sure. Okay. And these, again, when we were talking earlier, Brock, about this notion of this cabal guiding the entire worldview of Reddit, I know that, at least for me, and I think for, I know Mirari and I mod a couple subreddits together. I know that we both have approved content that we personally disagree with, but like you said, it doesn't break the rules. And the subreddit isn't what Queen Anne likes. It's, r/news or whatever the case may be. And you'll get accused, at least we have, of you're supporting X. I'm neither supporting it nor am I disparaging it. I am just merely saying that it does not go against the rules, and so it stays. If you disagree with it, downvote and move on.
That's something we've seen. Like, there are times when a post technically breaks the rules, but I'll allow it so that the community can downvote it and show that, no, we don't do this here. Sometimes it's better to let that happen.
Yeah, I'd love to add on to what Queen Anne said, and this is just human behavior that we're happening to see on Reddit, but, it occurs in everyday life off the platform, which is we seek simple narratives to explain as much as possible. And obviously on our world news and on our politics, we get accused of many, many things. No matter what the issue is, both sides are, of course, claiming that we have some overarching agenda that, of course, is both uniformly agreed on the back end and being executed with, extreme precision and consistency. And of course, the reality is
that we were so efficient.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just that it helps explain, hey, why did my comment about stonings happening in Palestine get removed? It's like, well, you link to YouTube, and that is we don't allow links to YouTube. We don't allow videos. But that's almost too technical and too precise and too unsatisfying, when it's much easier to say, you have these worldviews and you're simply oppressing and imposing them on us through your privileged position.
Hey, yeah, that's excellent. I think consistency is really important in that sense. Connecting to what Queen Anne said, you'll always get users who are gonna be like, hey, why did my thing get removed if this is there? Like why is this fine? Why is my thing bad if this is fine? And that's why everything you do should be like justifiable. Every time I action a post or a comment, I ask myself, can I justify this through past mod action? Does this make sense? Is this just me not liking it, or does this make sense in a historical perspective of what
are you being consistent with yourself, sort of?
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's
oh, I'm sorry, I interrupted.
Go ahead, Queen Anne.
I was going to say, so like we get that a lot on our /rare insults. We do not allow personal information, which we have also included in that usernames, regardless if it's got 2 upvotes or 2,000 upvotes. And so, if we remove it and say, well, why was mine allowed, or why was mine removed when this one was allowed to stay, and it also has personally identifiable information. What I have done that seems to assuage the ire is, you are absolutely right. Thank you for bringing this to our attention. We will action it appropriately. And then leaving it at that. Because that way they feel like they've been heard. They feel like there's a consistency. And you are, basically saying, you're right. What's good for the goose is good for the gander.
I'd like to add on to that too, because actually that's a very good point, in that we do need to admit, I made a mistake and this does happen. But I think, and also when you have a whole moderation team, when you put different eyes on it, that, you have to all be on the same page to be able to say, you know what, you had your post removed, or you had a ban that was issued, and in my opinion, it probably should be up there, or it should be a lesser ban. And maybe it's just, our personal experience, but we've had other mods actually come in and just say, you know what, we think you're right because of A, B, C, D. We're going to reduce your ban, or we're going to go ahead and put up your post. And then, having to just, say, okay, you know what, I made a mistake, moving on with it. I think it's really, really important as moderators that we can do that and not take it personal, whether that the user calls us out, or even whether another moderator comes behind and says, you know what, hey, I got this. I think there's a better way to handle it. And I'm not sure if anybody else has had that type of experience.
Yes, a lot, because we're always a team. And if you're in a team, you build on each other's strength and you support each other's weaknesses. So this also goes back to, do all these people control Reddit? Well, not really, because we're always in a team. And there's never any team that's just going to allow you to do whatever you want without pushing back against that. And there are different people with different beliefs, different team members on different subreddits. And it's very important that if you make a mistake, I always say to people I'm in a team with, hey, if you see something, if I've banned someone who shouldn't have been banned, go ahead and unban them. Don't wait for me to be online to ask if it's okay to unban them. Just go and do it. If it's really important that they're not going to be unbanned, I will have put a user note on there. And otherwise, I think it's very important that that there are different viewpoints that look at the same issue, and in that way come to the correct decision.
Yeah, I have a good cop, bad cop relationship with our other moderator, Jacob, who couldn't be here today. But there are times when he'll probably look a little deeper into a post than I did and say, hey, they were actually being sarcastic or something like that. And I pretty much always defer to him because, as I said before, I firmly believe the haters hunt themselves, that if we approve a person that's truly a hater, then it won't be long before they do that again and get banned again. and everything. And yeah, so I think you're right. That kind of balance is good. And, you know, maybe some of the mods that are getting the bad reputations out there are solo acts, and that's a challenge. Looking for some, are you from a mod team, or do you have a question for mod people?
I had a question about the accusation of oppression you discussed before. Don't you have to state a reason for ban?
I don't.
Not
So
necessarily.
let me put it this way. I don't think that you are like necessarily required to. However, it is strongly recommended. And if you take the Moderation 101 and 201 course, they will walk you through having, you know, good removal reasons. So it's strongly encouraged, but I don't think it's necessarily a hard and fast rule that every ban needs to be, you know, labeled and adjudicated. I'm not sure about that.
Yeah, because
does anyone else want to chime in on that?
I'm saying full zero is always mod discretion. You have to have, one of having mods in our box is that we have subjective ability to look at things and see there's something not right with this. Even if we're not sure immediately what it is, sometimes you just need to get it off the site and then talk to fellow mods about why and how to respond in the future.
Gotcha, Nemo. I would just say your connection's a little wonky. I think you had to raise your voice to get that through. So again, if you can get to a quiet place, you're probably gonna help
My
you
man
be
is
heard a
calling
little
from
easier.
Go to your happy place.
Ideally, especially on mobile, and again, the bar for modding on mobile is in hell. When you say banned for Rule 3 violations, ideally, Reddit would say you were banned for Rule 3 violations. But it doesn't do that even on desktop. And so you have to, that's where things like Toolbox come in, where it says you were banned for this comment or post, which is a violation of X. But even then, if it's pretty clear, you know, say for example, your subreddit is comment only oranges and you come in with lemons and you say, why was I banned? It's pretty obvious. You know, the one rule is that every comment has to be the word orange. You came in with lemon. Where's that in the rules? It is right there.
Yeah, and that gets to the point that most users do not read your rules, which is specifically why Dev Platform is so exciting, because if you not only, sure, most subreddits have an automod that when you join, you know, a nice little welcome to the subreddit and then an introduction to the top level rules and norms of that community. But even then, the second thing that, you know, I and other moderators have noticed is most people don't check their orange reds. So you have a very difficult time of even, you know, just as you explained, Queen Anne, being like, hey, like you violated like our first rule of our community that we cannot make it any clearer without, you know, literally having a DM every time you post, which in, you know, our geopolitics we do. So yeah, that's where that issue is unresolved and gets to the larger issue of how through DevTools will we as moderators be able to positively form and shape current and future members of our community.
I guess
Thanks
to
for
that I would
clarification.
ask you, understanding that people don't read the rules, I get that. And so you have a responsibility as a moderator to make the rules as concise and clear as possible. My question to you would be, at what point do we put the onus back on the users and say, you have a responsibility to read the rules of the forum in which you're participating in?
Yeah, and that I would totally agree with that. But that actually gets back to something that we had talked about, which is being open to criticism, which, you know, a very uncontroversial statement I feel we all agree on. And that specifically takes the form of reading mod mail when people both try to appeal their ban, but also try to point out issues. And that's actually where, though good intentions might guide certain behaviors, you know, what I found because my subreddits are in like the millions or tens of millions, is we get just like we just don't have the time, and our time as a volunteer is already precious. So if you're not reading mod mail, it isn't due to some nefarious, like we are repressing your speech and you cannot appeal your ban. It's more, I wish to be, a shepherd of my community. I can either spend 10 minutes replying to 10 messages, or I can moderate 1,000 comments that, have various levels of, vile or rule breaking actions. So it becomes this, trade-off of how do I have the most impact, which is then getting back to your point of, should we put the onus of reading the rules on the community, of which I wholeheartedly agree. But how that takes the form is I am then moderating comments that break the rules. And then when those users say, hey, why did you ban me for saying something, bigotry? And, I don't have the time to go back and be like, well, here are 3 slur words you mentioned in 3 different comments, and effectively build this case to explain to them. Because unfortunately, and I did not always feel this way. I used to be much more idealistic and good believing, I should say. But now I've become, some may label it cynical, others will call it realistic, is that oftentimes people appeal their bans or appeal removals of comments in bad faith. So while that is, of course, not a hard and fast law, it is a general trend in larger subreddits that I have observed, which then has led me to modify my behavior to be more front-facing, that is, as I said, removing comments in active and rising threads, rather than doing back-end. And that's, of course, why having a large team of some people really enjoy that, and that's fantastic. But hopefully that answers your question directly.
Just something I'd like to add to that, too, and I think that's a big weakness in the current mod mail system, is that users aren't really sure if the message even gets through to us or not. Even Facebook at least has the ability for you to have an away message. And it would be nice, especially when you're handling 1,000 comments, that for those, 15 mod mail messages that come in, to have an automatic reply that says, hey, we got your message. We're working on it. We'll get back to you usually in X amount of time. Please be patient with us.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of the negative mod stereotypes conspire to let people forget that we are volunteers. And there's a lot of people who, anytime I enforce a rule, that they want a full theological treatise with biblical citations on why that rule exists and why they should have to follow it. I ain't got time for that. I didn't have time for that when I was in seminary. I definitely don't have time for it now. So, I have one basically theological paper written on why you need to respect other people. And I will paste that, but I by and large, I'm not going to get into it with folks, especially because respect is a pretty simple concept.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. We shouldn't be expected to write these long essays or go back into their user history and pull up, 17 different examples of why they violated that rule. But I think that it helps them cool off a little bit if they feel that their concern was heard, other than just there's a message that is sent off into the fog somewhere.
Yeah, definitely. And, there's different users approach a ban appeal or, mod mail differently. And that has different challenges to, depending on who you are and what you're dealing with.
Yeah, you have to look at users that are just going to sea lion. You can give them, this is the comment that got you banned. This is the rule. And it's pretty clear. And we've all dealt with this as moderators. And how did that break the rules? Okay, I just explained it to you. And at some point you realize they're sea lining, cut it off. Don't. We are volunteers.
There's a due diligence, and then there's crap.
Yeah, there's also the common insult, you do it for free. And I think that's a very interesting one, because the assumption there is that we are in some way employees of Reddit, only we are employees who don't get paid. And that's sort of a bit of a misconception, because this is a hobby. And the hobby is that we create and build communities. That is what it's fun. It's fun to see a community grow. It's fun to see it flourish, get subscribers, get content, and that is what we do for free. All hobbies are done for free, more or less. So I always kind of enjoy it when they say, hey, you do it for free, as if it is an insult, because, well, yeah, this is my hobby. Of course I do it for free.
I consider it to be somewhere between a hobby and volunteer work, and it can depend day to day, moment to moment. The posts on what's hot on my sub will determine what kind of day I have sometimes.
I got something to say about this. So, like, I actually had this rather, like, I want to say disappointing argument with somebody just somewhat recently on the mod support sub, where, I will just refer to what I do or what we do as a job, or at the time I was saying it's my job to whatever, and then they were like, it's not a job if you're not paid. And then I was like, okay, well, whatever, you can call it a duty or a responsibility. And they were like, no part of moderation. They were basically, and what they said was, and they were mod themselves, they were like, no part of moderation rises to the level of a duty or responsibility. And I was just like,
that's your opinion, man.
I can't help but laugh. I'm a Christian person moderating a Christian sub. Yeah, that's silly. That's a silly thing to say.
On the note of how do you answer mod mail, a quick heuristic and we had this discussion in the World News backend just earlier this week, that I found to be true across multiple subs, is effectively this binary of when somebody appeals their band, they're either incredibly sincere. They're like, hey, I'm so sorry. I see this rule. I'll never do it again. I understand why you've removed it. If you can reinstate or lessen my ban, I'll be better. And that almost always is a yes, you are doing your best. We slap your hands. You learned, move on. And then oftentimes we will do a temp ban. And we've found that the worst offenses where this second behavior comes out is the 3 to 7 day temp ban, where it's like, it's just enough that they get the ban and it seems in internet time so long, but it's not so long that they're like, oh, okay, hands in the air, F it, I'm done with this community because it's, 1 month, 2 month, permanent. And that's why did I get banned? You got banned for, and we say a reason. And then, explicitive, and they effectively, in their reply, make their temp ban a perma ban because they, start attacking us as people.
They do kind of tell on themselves.
Yeah, it's like Brock was saying, that they tell on themselves. One thing that, to what you were saying, I've found to be efficacious is, you're absolutely correct. That you tend to have two different types of people appealing their ban: the one that are sincere and the ones that are here to mask off. And a lot of times I'll say, you know what? Tell you what I'm going to do. Why don't I reduce this to, say, 1 day or 3 days or whatever the case may be, and file this under a learning experience. In the future, please refrain from, those kind of comments. Does that sound fair? And I would say that has a 98% success rate, because they feel like there's a negotiation. They feel like they have some semblance of a voice and a power, and giving the user a chance to discuss it with you and negotiate really is insanely efficacious. And in the rare times they're like, no, I'm not going to do that because it was not fair to begin with. Okay, thank you for your feedback. We do hope that when the ban is up that you will participate and abide by the rules. And then radio silence. Not going to feed the trolls.
There is something that I would like to say regarding, agreeability or disagreeability with all of this.
Yeah, I saw your comment. Go ahead.
Yeah. So a couple of things I want to say. I'll be getting off in a bit. Diafool 3, Alex, was it, or something? Please don't take this as an insult. Please take this as an embrace.
Go ahead. Yeah.
You sound like a politician or a lawyer, and it is just. It is a geometrically exact, a mathematically beautiful stream of words that you string together. Thank you ever so much for letting me hear you. But my question here is to Blue 3. It is very much out of context, maybe. And as you might have heard from me earlier, like, when does a moderator find themselves being too nice, too kind? This might be assuming too much, but your avatar presents a very gentle and kind-looking dude. Would you consider yourself to be a kind person? Somebody who might even be too kind? Because that is something that I've noticed in my personal life. I have been far too kind in my life, and I have wanted to, I've wanted to be like the obnoxious person sometimes, but that's a mask. I don't want to pretend. I just want to stop being nice. Have you, Blue 3, had the issue of being too nice?
Sorry, I couldn't. You were breaking up a little bit there, but I got most of your question. No, I got most of your question. I think I might be a little. I think just like non-tribe. I think it might have been non-tribe or Iroquois who said that they're pretty cynical. I feel like I'm pretty cynical and at times rather negative person in real life, but like I explained with my stance on bands, like I think I'm definitely a little maybe too allowing and friendly with people. That's possible here. Like I always try to see the whole picture and maybe give them a little bit too much leeway, but it's like I don't swing the banhammer that fast. Like, I don't know if that answers the question.
I suppose, but I do hope for a world someday where there is a place for us in the, there's the banhammer guys, there's the angry police type of dudes, but also the people who want to be gentle with things.
I really want to ban. There's some people I really want to ban, but they kind of just fly under. They very cleverly fly under the radar or whatever you want to call it. They just, I want them to give me a reason,
Oh,
and
so
Prove and downvote.
Very much at the edge then. So like they're just they know the laws and they're gonna jump on in front of your eyes, but to the letter, not bannable. Yeah, but I suppose that's it for me. Thank you ever so much for having me, and I'll be getting off. You have a wonderful night. It's getting midnight here, so good day to you guys.
See you,
Thanks
Vaden.
for coming by.
Thank you.
Goodbye.
For me as well. Thank you, guys.
Oh, see you later, Nemo. I would just say, I don't know if I describe myself as cynical, at least on this call, but it's all good. If I could just offer a few questions or prompts, because I think to some extent I take the sort of pluralistic approach to moderation and a lot of these sort of like, we call them like referee or cop issues. And a lot of the answers I think are also emergent. I think Broclen said it or implied it very clearly with like, have good rules, have good automation, including AutoMod, and you will basically, your job will be a lot more straightforward. I won't say easier, but a lot more straightforward in terms of like the workflow. But I want to get into some other kind of things besides just like, that stuff, if I may. So we got mod mails for a second, right? I'd love to ask you guys, like, even if the majority of your mod mails are like ban appeals, it's not all of them. So let's be real. If we have on average kind of a hesitation to even like look at mod mails in general, do you ever worry that you're maybe missing some important stuff? Like, I'll be real. I've sent mod mails to people. I have never been, well, I can't say I've never been. I've not been banned basically from any significant subs. I think I've only had one negative interaction with a moderator on a sub in general. My mod mails are never true, in those veins. My mod mails are like, hey, you want to talk? Or hey, I have an idea for you. And they often go unread or seemingly go unread or definitely go unanswered. So do you guys ever like have a
On
issue with
Dank
mod
Christian
mails not
memes,
answering? Not
on
here.
Dank Christian memes, I read all the mod mail, especially because most of it is stuff like I want to be notified about, So I do read it all, and it's very rare that people reach out. People will they won't message a mod. They'll put it in comments, which is fine, I guess. Again, it doesn't break the rules as long as they're being respectful. But a lot of the conversations do happen in ban appeals because, like I said, most of my mod mail is filtration and not people reaching out.
Sure, I get you. So I'm asking this as a general sort of prompt. We can go down the line. How often do you answer mod mails? Would you say that you're 100% like Broclen, or you can be honest, no judgments, a little less or maybe a lot less than 100%? And do you feel
that's
like
why I
something
mod for one sub? Yeah.
Right, we got some super mods here for sure. So do you think that some stuff may fall through the cracks? Let's just, non-tribe. Are you a mod, or are you just kind of you're hanging out here?
I'm just hanging out.
Okay, no pressure.
I think we go to Marari since they.
Yeah, Marari. Mod mail.
Mod mail is about 50% of what I do on Reddit. I do agree that mod mail is neglected often on a lot of subreddits, which is why I do a lot of it. But I do tend to focus, I have priorities, which is mod discussions and highlighted, ban appeals, then I check new, then I check in progress, and basically notifications I ignore. I try to answer a lot of it. Sometimes I will filter by what is easily answered. And the more difficult things, I apologize, but sometimes I just ignore them because, like what was said earlier, sometimes you have to make the decision to spend your time on a lot of things that are constructive or on one thing only. So yeah, I wish that more moderators would just, click on the green shield and do the mod mail, because often it feels there are definitely certain subreddits where I'm the only one doing the mod mail. It does depend on the subreddit. There are subreddits that are stellar with mod mail. For example, there's a subreddit called Roast Me, and the mod mail there is always handled perfectly. There are also subreddits where I swear people are just not interested in it. It depends.
Exactly. What about you, S2, if you're still with us?
Yeah, so mod mail is definitely a big part, but it kind of like comes and goes in waves. Like after games we get quite a lot of our mod mail like the night of and the day of the game, and then it kind of filters off. But that's kind of why I was mentioning before, like it would be really, really nice if there was like a tool that said like, hey, we'll get to you within like X amount of time. But I do try the best that I can. I'm probably in the queue and mod mail more than anything. I'll tinker with like auto mod here and there, but yeah, we do the best that we can. There probably isn't a single mod mail message that gets unanswered. If we don't have an answer, we will literally just say that, I'm sorry, read the message. We don't have an answer for you, or, the message says it all. There's nothing else that we can elaborate on this situation. Sometimes people are, usually just squawking, why did I get banned? And we already quoted what rule it was that was violated. So sometimes we'll just copy and paste it, say the same thing. Here's the rule that was broken. I'm sorry, we can't elaborate beyond this, and leave it at that.
Fair. Blue 3, how are you on mod mail?
Sorry.
Put you on the spot.
Since it's just basically just one sub, really 100%. Unless it's and like extremely in depth, like we don't like it's kind of weird. Like I'm actually like I'm less scared. I really like responding, but I'm always a little bit scared about what kind of response is going to come back, because sometimes things happen. Like one time I had a user remove the post or a comment or whatever it was, a comment chain. He got into chat. He chatted me up, and he was like, "Hey, why was this removed?" And I explained it to him. what he did, he made a screenshot of the chat, made a post of that in our sub, and basically the subs are the mods are stopping discussion, and obviously deleted that. And so I'm always a little very wary of pissing somebody off. So I really take my time with it. But really, unless it's like a troll or clearly just low effort, we respond to everything.
Cool. Yeah. I want to get as many people up. I know that you did a thing or emoji looking, so you probably have some thoughts on this. How are you on Mod Mail, specifically with an emphasis on trying to respond to people as much as possible, if you can, and also emphasis on like responding to things, like talking about responding to things that aren't just ban appeals. Like, how are you on Mod Mail in general? Do you feel like you're 100 or less than 100? Looking or Die Fool or Queen Anne, anybody?
Admirable Jelly, did you want to speak up? I thought I saw you left a comment. I am trying to pay attention to those comments. I said I would.
Yes. Hi, everyone. Thank you. I just had a quick question. I'm relatively new to the app and this whole talk thing. So I just wanted your opinion on something. So the other day I was part of a talk. It was a discussion. I mean, there was no topic. So there were different topics people were talking about. So there was this one conversation that was happening between two people and around a legal case, which is pretty well known. So one of the guys was struggling with remembering certain names, like names of certain people and stuff, which I instantly knew. So to help him, I just wrote the name of the person and the company that he was talking about in the chat. And I was immediately banned by the moderator. So, and I got a message or whatever that you've been banned. And I asked, what is this? And I have no, like I said, I have no idea about how this app works and stuff.
Now, that was in a Reddit talk conversation, or was that just in a regular post?
Conversation, yeah.
So you verbalized something, or did you make a text comment?
I made a comment in the chat. Just to hoping that the guy who was talking would read it, and because he kept repeating that I can't remember the name, so I just wrote it down in the comment because I wasn't in a position to talk at that time. So I wrote the names, and when I asked the person why I was banned, because I had the option of asking them, they just said that it sounds like what you wrote was a racist comment. I said, and I was totally taken off guard because the things that I wrote about were literally the names of, the name of a person and the name of a company. So I was like, why would you just assume that? So she was like, no, it just seemed like that. And, I'm sorry, maybe it's my bad and all of that. But I got a little irritated because I didn't know how this app works. So is it normal to just ban? So I said, why would you assume something without checking first? Then when I told her what I meant, then she was like, oh, I'm really sorry. I didn't know that, this is what you meant. I thought you were trying to make fun of somebody. I was like, but you could have just asked me in my comment, right? You could just have replied and asked me, what do you mean if you're not sure?
Yeah, it sounds like there was, the conversation happening and then a moderator behind the scenes. Makes sense that they might be a little disconnected. And, when you say, you don't know how the, sort of Reddit talk works, neither do we. So there's a lot of people trying to figure out.
Okay.
Yeah.
But is it normal?
So it's not an excuse for what happened, but mods are stepping into a brand new territory. Did they alleviate your ban, or are you stuck with it?
No, I mean, after that, she told me that I'll lift your ban, but I was just, I don't know, it was my first time. I was like, no, I don't want to participate in, such kind of rooms where you just, people make assumptions and do such things. You can just ask somebody and then do something like that. So So
I
I
can
said I don't want to,
certainly
and I think she got angry as well, and she was like, "Okay, I won't unban you."
I can
So
certainly
yeah.
understand the frustration from, especially as a user, like, why didn't you ask me to clarify? And I will say, we see so many, depending on the subreddit or, you know, the collection of subreddits, we see so many thousands upon thousands of absolute vile shit on a daily basis. And we are also tasked with enforcing Reddit's content policy. You're almost forced to assume the worst and then later say, you know what, you're right, I apologize. Because we see so many people that they'll use these dog whistles, or they will just be outright racist, and they are serious about it. You know, even if a country has, or a company has a name that, you know, may trip a filter. Like I said, I'm not defending that moderator, but we see so many thousands and thousands of things that these people are being racist. They're being sincerely racist. And we have to operate off that assumption until somebody says, no, that what I was actually saying was the name of the company. So I understand the frustration, but this attitude of we have to ban you right away, I think comes from a lot of cynicism, perhaps, a little more than a little jaded.
Makes me think maybe they needed to take a break from the Reddit talk feature, that it may be a stressful experience for them, perhaps.
Well, Reddit talk can be hectic because you are busy talking and at the same time you're doing the comment thread. And if you don't have a lot of people, if you don't have someone dedicated to the comment thread, then what I think happened here was a snap judgment based on pattern recognition. And that is unfortunately something that happens. A moderator can be busy. Sometimes you have thousands of comments and you go through a thread, and there have been times where I have replied to my own ban message saying, apologies, this was a mistaken ban, I have unbanned you.
I've done that too, that where there was a pattern, like you said, there was a pattern that basically primes you.
Yeah,
and then you like, maybe even after you push the button, you're like, oh crap, oops.
Sure.
I wish it were easier to to undo those mistakes, because it usually like, crap, they got a ban message now, so I need to send an apology letter.
An unban message automated by the system. That would save me a lot of time. Because you get a ban
I'm sorry message. You good.
Yeah, ain't sure. But let me actually, guys, I'm gonna have to dip out here too. I know we're getting closer to the 2nd hour mark. I know you said, bro, you respect people's time. So I want to get this in here. No, I want to get this in here. This is like super important to me. This is why I came here to begin with, to be honest. You know, here's my full disclosure. I want to talk about talks because I'm going to be honest here. I'm just going to talk about the elephant in the room. I'm just going to ask the question. I really want as many people to jump in and be as honest as possible. And there's no judgments here. It's a neutral zone. We're all friends here. Let's be real. Most mods aren't in the program. Most mods, most subs aren't in the program. Most mods aren't in the program. Most mods and subs don't like talk. They don't want to be involved. And I just want to ask you guys, for those who aren't involved, I think let's be honest, most of your subs probably aren't involved. Let's be real. Can you just tell me as neutrally as possible, I'm trying not to be accusatory, just why? And for those who are interested, could you, tell me like what steps you're taking to, try and get in, and if you want any help, because I'll also raise my hand. So, admittedly, I'm not trying to shield here, but I'll just raise my hand and say that I'm in the program, I've been doing these rooms, and I'd be happy to help anybody who is interested in starting. But just like around the horn, one at a time, what are your feelings on talk? Yay, nay, and what are you doing?
Yep, big on that one at a time. So I'll start with Miari 101. Keep it brief, please.
I love talks. I love interacting with the users in a live setting. It's very, very different from a comment thread. I love it.
So are you using talk in your own sub, or have you talked to your team about getting your subs involved?
There is a subreddit that I'm currently trying to get into talks. There are several subreddits where I'm already organizing talks.
Shout out, man. Okay, if you need any help, just let me know. Blue?
I haven't used the feature on my sub or any other. Well, I mean, I haven't set it up myself, but I'm totally open for it. I mean, I'm not gonna. There's a lot of things that mods don't like that Reddit gives them. You know, lots of us don't like new. Lots of us don't like talk. Lots of us don't like lots of projects. So, but I'm willing to try anything out. Sure.
Diful?
Yeah, similar to Mirari, like our world is, I do a weekly talk every Thursday for the last 4 months with Akash, and so obviously very pro talk. But on the flip side, our politics, I think we are intense internal debate, as some people were very much against it, and we are tilting and going to do a talk soon. What that is, that next week or next month, TBD, still working on it. And then on our news, we're anti-talk. And that's, it really just comes down to various approaches to how you see moderation and how you see Reddit. As a moderator, you see talk as a opportunity to connect, like Mariah said, or do you see it as just another burden that you have to then moderate and you're already at your limit? As some people on our news team see it. Furthermore, different subreddits are better suited for different features of Reddit. And although Reddit tries to, roll out features in an agnostic way, something might be, say, like polling for a sports subreddit where, you're effectively saying, do you think the 49ers will win? Versus, K-pop versus is a wood shop or a subreddit. And that's just the problem of Reddit, is in trying to make something universal, by necessity it will not be applicable to many specific instances.
Oh man, bad connection. I hope he comes back. Yeah, that sucks. Queen, any thoughts on talks?
What Diapool was saying, that there are some Reddits that are subreddits that are great for talks. I've hosted several on relationship advice.
Whoa. Relationship advice went live? I didn't see this. I pitched them and they didn't read my mod mail.
Relationship advice? We've been doing it since last year. We were one of the beta testers for it, yeah.
Whoa. Please hit me up. Please hit me up.
I will absolutely hit you up. Okay. We've done talk on like Fundy Snark Uncensored, where we had kind of a niche celebrity to the Fundy world. But in subreddits, like, for example, cats are assholes, it's hard to impart how much of an asshole your cat is via voice chat.
Yeah, that's fair. But yeah, please hit me up. I'll send you. I think I can send you a DM.
Edo, I gotta respect your hustle, but like, I was glad you were helping this podcast, this little Reddit talk space. I feel like, are we just a stepping stone for greater things for you? I mean, I should be satisfied with that.
I'm not cheating on anybody. I'm not trying to cheat on anybody. There's plenty of me to go around. But like, that's the thing, right? I send out mod mails. They go unread. I want to try and engage with as many subreddits as possible and use this format that I love to help as many people as possible. So, and if you can reach out to me via DM or chat and we can connect on that, please. Looking, thoughts on talks?
Oh, I guess we're going to go on to Eternal, but if you pop back in Looking, we'll get to you.
Yeah, can you guys hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Well, like I previously said, I'm not a moderator, but I appreciate you guys allowing me into the discussion. And just to kind of tie in the previous discussion of what Admirable was talking about, getting banned for miscommunication, I think the talks are important because, like, hearing people's voice inflection, it really provides a context, and you really kind of hear the intention behind what is being said rather than just a text or like a comment or a message or anything like that. You know what I'm saying?
So perhaps a mod outreach program is a good thing.
Yeah, no, I really think talks are awesome. Just interacting with the community, and especially moderators hosting it. I think it's really awesome, and I think there should be more of it.
Well, and I'd be happy to host this, especially with all you folks here, if you ever wanted to join in the future. And I've talked with most of you on the side, so we can work on that and we can talk on that. We got to get to Coca-Cola has a question of their own, but I know we got other folks coming in too. So I'll let you run the show there, Edo, seeing you're so good at it.
Oh, well, thank you. I'm not trying to take anything over. I just wanted to help. Yeah, I mean, if anybody else wants to jump in on the talk prompt, you can. If not, we can go over to Coca-Cola with a different prompt.
Just really quick, yeah, hit me up, because we've actually talked about using Reddit talks for big events like draft day, rival games, and so on. We've actually done Twitch feeds for big events like that, and having it incorporated into Reddit would be a lot easier than trying to redirect people to an external site. So if you could hook us up, I'd appreciate it.
That would
Sure,
be awesome.
Yeah,
nobody's special, but I can definitely give you some connections.
That would truly be awesome on the sports Reddit to your rivalry games and stuff. I think there was one more person that didn't answer your prompt, Edoquin, which was Blue 3. You got something, Blue 3, before we go to Coca-Cola?
Are you talking about the talk in regards to the talk? No, I answered that.
He answered it. Yeah,
I'm sorry.
I'm open for it anytime.
No worries. I think it's Sentience. I mean, I don't know if Sentience a mod. I think he's more of a community outreach guy. But yeah, I mean, I guess I'm assuming you'd probably be talk open or talk neutral at least.
Yeah. Can you guys hear me okay?
Sounds good.
Sure.
All right. Great.
Yeah.
This is my first time using using Reddit talk from my home PC. So let me know how I'm coming in, and but it should be fine. It's a pretty decent machine. Yeah, so just like the guy that talked before me, I am also not a Reddit mod, but also similar to the young lady that was speaking earlier about 10 minutes ago about her experience being banned from a subreddit. I actually about 2 weeks ago, I actually got banned from R News, which I'm still kind of like reeling from. Like I'm surprised because I'm not a troll. I'm not a trolly person. As Broclen mentioned earlier, I and Ed Gwen also expounded upon. I do manage an internet community in Discord, based off of a video game called Star Wars: The Old Republic, and so community etiquette is something that's always in the front of my mind, and I'm super I'm super conscious of my behavior in most cases, but I know how important it is for a community to have to behave well, to have good actors in a community. But not only was I banned from our news 2 weeks ago, over a year ago I was banned from our conservative, and that was a different thing. I probably said something that was I probably said something that they probably took as I
feel like Sentient Gorilla is confessing all his bans to us. I didn't require that. I didn't put him up to this, I swear.
Yeah, no. So no, look, guys, as far like my personal opinion of my own etiquette online is that I'm a good boy. I don't go out there. I don't look for fights. I will say my opinion. I'm not going to often pull my punches. But I'm not looking to start crap. I'm not the kind of person that's looking for trolling. But when I got banned from our conservative, they just sent me a message. They didn't cite any rules. But then I looked at their rules and I looked at their, about our conservative, and I don't know if it's changed since then, but at the time it explicitly said, we're not trying to be fair. We're not trying to be balanced. It was pretty much a message like, hey, if we don't like what you have to say, then you're not going to say it. And
at least they're honest, I guess.
They were honest. I tried to appeal. I don't know. I can't remember if I tried to appeal it, but I pretty much gave up. I'm actually, so a little bit of background on this. I'll try to keep it brief because I want to move on.
Sentient, real quick, can I ask you a question?
Yes, please.
Was that a result? Was the banning a result of an action performed by an auto moderation?
It might have been. It sounds about right, because the R News was I do not believe was an auto mod, because they allowed me to talk to, to respond to the mail, to the mod mail. So I believe, if I'm remembering correctly, it was a year ago, but I believe I'm remembering correctly that it was an automod sort of thing. And I believe that essentially, I'm pretty positive that what I said was something that was not a popular opinion. Now, a little bit of background on me. Obviously, so I consider myself a Christian. I grew up in Texas.
I gotta interrupt you for a couple reasons. I got questions in the comments I got here, and we gotta close out because we're more than an hour over. So let me pull up this question, and then we're gonna move on to our final question as we move out the door. And this is a Dank Christian Memes specific one, unless someone else deals with this also. It says, as a Christian mod, how do you deal with righteous judgment posts? For instance, would you ban a post condemning homosexuality? Would you ban someone calling Christians idiots and hateful? Generally, yes. And there's different ways that happens. Like, some people make an off-color joke, and they don't get banned. We just remove it. But there are some people who come specifically to preach hate to certain groups, and LGBTQ people are one of those groups, and we do not allow that. We do not tolerate that. So we try to leave space, because there are people who are like, wait, how can you be a Christian sub? And they're genuinely not aware that this is a thing, that there are some Christians who actually are okay with LGBTQIA plus people. So we want to leave room for those people to actually understand that we exist. We wouldn't want to ban them for being curious, but there are people who are clearly there to preach hatred, not always against gay folks, but that's the target we see most frequently. But the way we deal with it is to really, we have a summary of our essential rules and say, can you or will you follow these or not? And honestly, they're frequently honest. They will either say, yes, sure, I can follow these rules while I'm here, or they will argue that the rules shouldn't exist. So that's, it's honestly more of a self-selection than anything when it gets down to it. These are our rules. Will you follow them? And in their positions, they are mostly honest that no, they won't. They feel that they need to preach this in all times and all ways to all people, and say, sorry, can't do that here. So that's the best I can answer that question. I want to move on to our last question as we exit, which is the same one I do every time, is if you have a subreddit that you want to plug, your primary subreddit, or maybe the sub you want to get a little more attention, or if you have a project that you're working on. So I'll save mine for last. Who should go first? I feel like S2 Keep Up hasn't spoken in a little while. Do you want to plug anything?
I'm a mod now of Angels Baseball, and which is wrapping up its season. But you're certainly welcome to come over and share the pity with us for the 10th year in a row not making the playoffs. And also our 49ers, which we do have a game that's going on right now. We just lost our number one quarterback to what looks like a broken ankle. You're welcome to come over and pity us for that. But, such as sports, that is the way. And we are very welcome to any users who want to come in and just find out more about us. It's a wonderful, wonderful community that I've been a part of for several years now. And I appreciate everybody joining and allowing me a chance to explain some of what I do. And I've learned quite a lot here from everyone else here.
Looking for some, do you want to plug anything? Come from a community?
I did create a subreddit. I haven't started it already. about making it a wiki about Reddit events, like was place or second, I think it was called, and other things. What do you think? Should I follow through and make it a thing, or just let it die?
Make a Reddit about like Reddit history, sort of, or like a
Yes,
Wikipedia.
Wikipedia about events that were made in Reddit. Like
You should definitely make Wikipedias about Reddit events and see if Wikipedia will accept them, because then each of our subs can have their own Wikipedia page. So that's my plan, and you should do that. Totally self-serving perspective.
Interesting.
Yeah, because it was funny, but I found about trophies through Trophy Wiki. So it was my idea. If we have Trophy Wiki, why we shouldn't have Event Wiki to learn about history of this place?
That's cool. I'm a historian. I dig that.
Thank you.
Who should be next? Who was? I'm trying to restore balance, make the last first, the first last sort of thing. Who should we call on next year, guys?
Let's go Blue 3.
Blue 3, you want to plug a sub or a project?
Sure. I mean, obviously there's Dune, but also there's another small sub about some. I just adopted it just really recently, and it's not too doesn't have that much activity. You can see it in my profile. Obviously, it's called Cain's Jawbone. You might look into it. It's it's a biblical reference, actually. So
I wasn't going to say it.
The first murder instrument, but it's a very interesting mystery that people can solve, and just a small community. And something else I'm working on that might actually help a few people here who are just getting started, or people that are listening and want to create communities. There's something that just started earlier this month called the Mod Recruiting Alliance. I'm going to post a link in the comments.
Please do.
You can get some advice and some guidance for getting more mods on your team, finding good candidates, that kind of stuff. It's organized by the admin, so it's pretty good project.
Cool. Thanks.
Sentient Gorilla,
you want to plug something or give us your final thought?
I don't have anything to plug, really. Nothing different from what I mentioned last week, which I'll just say I am a founding member of a game guild in Star Wars: The Old Republic, and in moderator of the Discord. And if there's anybody that plays SWOTOR who wants to hang out with us, we're on Satilshan. And just whisper me at Avon Redwind, or just look for us. But other than that, not really. I will say
that was a nice plug. That was well organized.
Oh, thanks. I feel like a mess. But as far as like any final thoughts, as far as like Reddit moderation, like I've been listening to everybody here, and myself, again, not being a Reddit moderator, but being somebody that does manage a community, I agree with all the points that everybody made, when it comes to balancing, a certain moral responsibility to letting everybody, say their piece, but also keeping the peace at the same time. It's all spot on. One thing I do want to mention, though, that a friend of mine who's a strong Christian conservative and not very friendly to the tech ecosystem, one thing that he did say to me that really was a strong point was that it's one thing to say, hey, Reddit is not a country. That's what I heard somebody say earlier, and that's a very, very good point. And because the First Amendment doesn't cover necessarily, what a company does. Legally, it doesn't. However, he did say he made a very good point when he said that tech companies have a very unique responsibility and a very unique authority, which is the online public square. And while the First Amendment does not automatically apply to these platforms that are run by private companies, there is a certain authority that is almost absolute.
We could do a full podcast. I'm thinking about doing a podcast episode on the metaverse, and I feel like that conversation would fit really well there. If there is a metaverse, what does that mean for this sort of public square of discourse, and what is a company, be it Facebook or Reddit, what is their responsibility to that, if any? Sorry. I feel like you've got great thoughts, and every time you bring something up, I'm like, oh, we should make that a new podcast episode.
Yeah, I think that does happen a lot. Thank you, Sentient Gorilla. I think we got where you were going, and I appreciate your input. It's been really good today, and always is. I think we got Mirari and Eternal Apostle left.
And my recommendation is very, very simple. I recently became a moderator of the subreddit Vanilla Ice Cream. It's a 10-year-old subreddit, and it has 43 subscribers. So that's a travesty and abomination, and it's not allowed. So I think everyone should go subscribe to Vanilla Ice Cream.
Great plug. Elevator pitch. Perfect.
Eternal Apostle?
Yeah, I don't really have anything to plug, but I just wanted to say, thank you guys for allowing me in on the discussion. And Broclen, I really appreciate, you hosting these discussions and these Reddit talks, and like Edequin, like what your topic was talking about, the Reddit talks is, I think it's more preferable than to go to a third party discussion, chat. And also, one more thing too, like Sentient, what I was asking you if it was auto moderation, and this is just a quick question. Sorry, I don't want to derail us, but just a quick question to the moderators regarding auto moderation is whenever you guys get appeals from users that have been banned or had posts removed due to auto moderation, like in my own personal
my auto
experience,
moderator does not ban. If someone is banned, it's because a human did it on my subreddit.
Right.
I think a lot of people assume that every sub gives auto mod the power to ban. And I don't know about the rest, but that's not how it works for us. It's got to be an actual human doing it for someone to get banned.
Okay. Yeah, let's get one other moderator to maybe answer that and to take us out.
Yeah, I just wanted to know if you guys
keep up. What's your position on auto mod bannability? How's that play out for you?
We don't use automod for banning. It's a very subjective process. And like I said earlier, a lot of times that the bans that are issued are because of somebody usually that had some sort of a behavior. So it's not something you can usually put into automod easily. However, we do use it to filter so that we can review that type of behavior and then decide if we're going to have to issue a ban. So for instance, we have a list of words that are hate or bigoted or unapproved for other reasons, websites that are spam sites, et cetera. And that way, at least all that happens is it's just sent to us for a person-to-person review. But we don't use auto moderator to ban anything, no.
I just checked to be certain, but auto moderator cannot ban users. So it is possible to do so with third-party bots. The Flare helper can ban, but auto moderator can't.
Interesting. So I didn't even realize it's not possible for auto moderator to ban people. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, I just checked the auto moderator subreddit, and it said here at 9 March 2017, auto moderator is not able to ban.
All right. So if they are doing that, then it means they're using some third party software or
Yeah.
automation of some kind.
Okay, cool. Yeah, thank you for that clarification. But in regards to post removal, do you guys check out because I know that sometimes it can be there's mistakes that are made, or it recognizes something as a violation to the rules of a certain sub. But do you guys see the appeals and recognize it and kind of make corrections to that?
If the user sends us a mod mail or replies to the comment in the post, like we, now with the removal reasons, posting a comment on the post that says your post was removed because of, XYZ, if they reply to that, then it sends us a notification. Or if they just send us a mod mail, then it says, hey, why did my post get removed? That's how we can see that. So it does require that the user actually inquire about it. We can't go looking for it, though. No, there isn't really a tool. There isn't really any filter, any way to be able to go looking for that, unless, like I mentioned earlier, the automod action is filter as opposed to remove. And remove is used for things, like I said, words that are hate words, websites that are known spam sites and so on, that just automatically get removed. But even if something still gets caught up in that as an auto removal, there still is the ability for the user to say, hey, why was my post removed? And ModMail does have a tool where we can go back and see what your post history was, and and then therefore, even if it was deleted, even if it was removed. So we can go back and see what your post history was for even removed items and say, oh, you know what, this was removed for an invalid reason, we'll fix that. And that does happen from time to time, but it's, out of probably the 10,000 posts that we get, that probably only happens 2 or 3 times.
Well, I appreciate the diligence for sure.
I'll just say on my end, each morning I wake up and look at the posts that have been filtered, and we're a meme sub, so it's all, visual posts for the most part. But, for comments, that would be pretty impossible. So I usually check, I try to double check our post filtration, because I know sometimes people get filtered out just because their account is too new. So I want them to obviously have an opportunity to make some karma if their post is following the rules. So that's the sort of thing I'm looking out for. But it's because I'm one mod on one sub. A lot of subs just couldn't do that for a lot of reasons.
Right. Okay. Awesome. Yeah, that's good diligence on your part, because there are some subs that have moderators that just they don't really check any of that stuff, and they just let the auto moderation do their job for them. So that's awesome that you do it, Broclen.
Yeah, I'm trying not to toot my own horn here. Like I said, all subs.
No, man, toot. You're great.
So, Nuntribe and Edoquin, do you wanna plug a sub or a project before I plug my own here?
Well, I think it's important that Edoquin definitely goes after me, because he has far more important information about talk, and you guys need to hear that last. But I do have a couple of quick thoughts. So I am a radio person from back in the day. I don't do that anymore, but I still have those fundamentals. So when I think about talk, and I think about podcasts, they all work on the same fundamentals. And so thinking about regularity of a talk in your sub is going to be something I think would be very important. Going every day, every week, every month, every year, I don't know, whatever's appropriate. I think before he left, Die You Fool 3, and I think Queen Anne also echoed, this just isn't probably going to be the best thing for every sub, to be honest. I'm thinking about a talk on news, and I'm just like, how? How can you have
oh my goodness.
How can you have a news talk without it becoming, it seems impossible, unless you only allow, like literally one person to talk, or maybe 2. Here, obviously, we're letting a lot of people talk. So, and then the last thing is going back to the radio fundamentals piece is I think key to anybody that wants to obviously do radio, but also podcasting, and this is a very similar kind of platform. So go learn those things. Just opening up your mic and just talking. I know it sounds like easy or straightforward, but there's actually a method to the madness. So yeah, that's my final words for this week. Thank you, everybody.
Well, and this is why I'm glad to have co-hosts like you guys to keep me on the rails here. I have some radio experience, but not a lot. I can be rough around the edges. Edoquin, I think we're expecting a big sell from you right now. Are you ready? Because I think the audience is waiting for you.
Okay. Well, I will make it as neutral as possible. This is honestly not me trying to shield for myself. This is community building. So that's my preface. Please go to r/Reddit talk, all one word, 10 letters. And also for those who are interested, we're trying to grow the community at Need a Host, where I am a mod. It's brand new, so it's very much a virgin sub. But if you could go to those two and just try to engage or make posts. Thank you, Blue. If you need hosts, right? If you need help with your ongoing talks in your communities, that's exactly the place for it. Need a host. If you want to promote talks that you're doing, that's one thing that you can do at r/Reddit talk. You can just make a post saying, we do this every week, we do this every month. Similar to Broclen with Dan Christian memes. And just grow the community, just get involved, because this is a great feature and I love it so much. And I want to make sure that we make it as good as possible, because if we do, then Reddit not only will keep it, but they will continue to improve it.
And you're gonna drop that link for us in those comments, right?
Yes, thank you. Just like Nun Tribe, I will put both of those subs in the comments. Good save.
Love it.
Okay. Now I'm about to drop my own thing in the comments here, so I apologize if I get in your way a little bit. But I want to let you all know, especially because I know some of you are moderators, Dank Christian Memes has worked together with, we created what we call the Dank Charity Alliance with a crew of subreddits, which includes Dank Christian Memes, Jew Dank, Wholesome Memes, Satanic Temple of Reddit, Pagan Memes, and Rami Memes for the director Rami. So if anyone is interested in getting involved in the Dank Charity Alliance, we're working on some interesting stuff I can't fully go public with, but I can tell you I'm in communications with our community funds. We're trying to do some more interesting stuff for the fundraiser this year. Last year, we raised $12,000 for St. Jude's Children's Research Hospital. We're very proud of that. We had some friends in front of the scenes, some friends behind the scenes, but we would love to expand and have more subs of various sizes. And, if you want to help plan, cool. If you don't want to help plan, that's also cool. You can still participate without having to take on a huge, we talked about how everyone's a volunteer here, so I'm not trying to make anyone's job harder. So check us out. There's, I think I tried to post a link to our fundraiser page. I'll go back and edit that so it's actually a link. My apologies. But that's my plug. I don't, y'all don't need to reply now or anything, but give it some thought. It's not going to start until February 2023, so there's plenty of time for you to talk to your mod teams if you like. But that's something we're going to be doing in Lent, and I'm hoping, Nun Tribe, Edoquin, if you're around, that we could do Reddit talks that are featuring our various partner subs. So whether you're a big sub or a small sub, that that could be a great opportunity to talk about how you're interacting with the fundraiser and what your sub is all about and why it's a good place to visit. Am I making sense, or am I running around in circles again?
Yeah, you're hitting it on the head, brother.
Okay. We've been going for a long time, guys. My brain's a little mushy. I gotta be honest. We fill the time every time. I was telling some of you all how we're going down to a shorter format. I failed. I'm sorry. I made a liar of myself.
We still love you.
Oh, definitely.
Well, thank you for being so understanding. Yeah, always a work in progress. All right. Well, thank you everyone for being here. This has been the Dank Christian Memes podcast. Our music that we'll be hearing in a moment is provided by Olive Tiger. Our next recording session is going to be Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern Time. Dank Christian Memes is a place for all kinds of Christians and all kinds of non-Christians to enjoy silly memes. and apparently this podcast sometimes. If you'd like to connect with our community further, there's a link to our Discord in the comments section. Thank you for listening, and until next time, may the memes bless you and keep you.